Gang! Gang! Maayong buntag, Wanders.
Welcome to the channel, We Wander.
I'm Kuya Cody.
And I'm Ate Isay.
And today, we're in a little bake shop right now eating. And then we're headed to St. Bernard. It's a little bit of a late start to the day, so hopefully I have enough time. But we wanted to check out where there was a huge tragedy in St. Bernard. I'll talk more about that later. It was quite a while ago now.
It happened in 2006.
We're gonna go check it out today and see how it is there now. Kind of explain to you guys a little bit of what happened there. So we're gonna be learning today. A little bit different than what we normally do, but apparently the area we're going to check it out is still very beautiful. So if you're here just for the beautiful sights, don't worry, we're gonna have that too. And I especially want to stress the share the videos. We need that more than ever right now. Look, it's your boy Chopper.
Just follow every move. Touch me. Let me know.
Alright, we're here in St. Bernard, and right now in front of us we can see the mountain. I'll show you guys where the landslide happened, but it was so long ago now you can't like actually see the scar of the landslide anymore. It doesn't look like anything ever even happened, but this mountain is really huge. I think it's maybe hard to tell on the camera how big and like imposing this thing is. I was just saying if you saw it when like it just happened, it was probably the type of thing that would give you chills. Yeah, I can imagine.
You can still see it though.
Yeah, I think I see where it was. Yeah, let me see if you can see it on the camera. Right there, guys, that's where it happened. You can see it clear as day in person. Wow. What Isai was telling me, and we're gonna give you more information later, but apparently it really did just bury this one barangay and nothing else around it was touched. Yeah. Just this one whole barangay was just covered and everything else is fine. Which if you don't know what a barangay is, for people back in America or any other Western countries, because I didn't know what a barangay was for a long time, it's kind of like a village, but like but bigger than a village, I would say. A big village, kind of. That's kind of a weird way to explain it, but that's a good enough understanding for you to get what we're meaning when we say that the landslide covered a whole barangay. Parked our motorbike here, and we're gonna go walk down over to where the landslide actually happened. The lake isn't actually here. We're still gonna have to drive further after this to get there, but we're gonna go over to ground zero. The longest footbridge I think we've been on, and one of the most beautiful. Holy crap. Honestly, when we were coming here today, I expected this to be like a history lesson, figuring out what happened with this landslide, and we're still doing that, but I didn't expect it to be so beautiful. It's crazy, guys. Like, I mean, actually, we're walking into an insane disaster. This place is really one of the most beautiful places I think we've seen ever. This is the names of everyone that died in the landslide, and Isai pointed out to me that it's just crazy. You look at it, it's the last names of like huge groups of people are all the same, like entire families just wiped out in one go. So many names on here too. It's really tragic. So really this place, we're not actually to where the barangay was yet. It's still a bit further back there, but really it's a graveyard still. I mean, listen to this. So it happened on February 17th, 2006. 13 years ago. A whole section of the mountain, which I showed you back there already, just broke free and collapsed because of torrential rains. It carried 1.2 billion cubic meters of mud and boulders straight down on top of this barangay, killing around 1,500 people in just minutes. They probably didn't even have time to know what was coming. It's just done. 8 days after the disaster, the search and rescue was called off because the mud was drying. It was becoming too thick. They couldn't really get to anyone else. In all, only 137 bodies have been found. There's still a little bit more than 900 people still reported missing, which, I mean, I'm sure you guys know what that means. The sign back there says Guinsaugon Eco Adventure Park. But really, this is a graveyard for all intents and purposes. I mean, a huge mass disaster that happened here, and very few of the actual bodies were ever recovered. It's very interesting, very strange to be somewhere where such a crazy disaster happened and it be so beautiful at the same time. It's hard to explain, it's hard to put into words. It's kind of something you just have to see. We didn't come here for a tourist spot. This isn't a tourist spot. It's a location of a disaster, but amazing and horrific at the same time.
And we just want to show you guys how it is after the tragedy, like how it is now.
Yeah, it's been 13 years. Okay, so I'm not totally sure on the number of people who actually died that day, because online when we were reading it said like 1,500, but this sign here is saying more than 5,000 people who died that day, so I'm really not sure. Either way, it was way too many people to die all at one time. Read on some of these graves on this thing that, you know, it's so many different ages. Obviously there's people born in the 40s and 50s, and there's people who are like, I saw one of someone who was just 3 years old when it happened. Isa was telling me that it happened later in the day when school was in session. All the kids were buried in the school with their teachers. We aren't positive, no one told us this, but just from looking back there, maybe someone watching knows and can clear it up. But that area back there that had all the names on it, we think maybe that's where they buried all the bodies that were recovered, or maybe buried there, and those are the names on the outside of those people. And then the ones that weren't recovered were maybe the ones on the sign with the big cross in front of it that was on the ground. The path back. When you get to the big round thing that has all the graves on it where we thought people may have been buried, go past it, and there's like a little house there. Just kind of go past the house, you'll see a little trail. If you're confused, just ask the people who live there and they'll point you in the right direction. We've made it back to some sort of a clearing. You can see we're right in front of where the landslide happened. We made our way up into here where we get on a little river. So we've decided to name the drone Windy to kind of fit with the branding of We Wander. We also had the bike named Wanda, and Wander, our new bike. It seems like Windy still works, kind of, like maybe 30% of the time. So basically we think it's just the gimbal is messed up. Actual flying totally seems to be fine. So I think what's gonna happen in the future, we're just gonna put it up, keep it within eyesight, and get shots whenever their pink lines aren't on the screen. It's the best we can do. So there's gonna be less drone shots, but we're still gonna get what we can. All that being said, when we were up there, we could see exactly where the landslide happened, and we could see the lake formed after the landslide.
It was just over there.
Well, it looks like we could walk to it from the river here, but it still looks a little bit difficult to find without a guide, and it's hard to see where to go back. So we're just gonna go back to the bike now, and we already know that you can drive around, and it's only like a 15-minute walk once you get to the other side of it to get to the lake. So we're gonna head around that way. We're walking on, I mean, over bodies, over buried houses, over a whole barangay. It's very weird to think about. You just see this field out here with all these random rocks in it. If you didn't know any better, you'd really never know what happened here if someone hadn't told you or you didn't know beforehand. So we stopped off and talked to some people to get some information because we really were giving too much speculatory information, not knowing exactly, you know, what we were talking about. It wasn't just where we walked up to. It's all of this.
Yeah, all of this. What you see, this, all of this.
It was all covered in the landslide.
Yeah, if you see this big rock.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
These rocks, these are all from that mountain.
I don't know why we didn't think of that when we were coming up. Like, you see these huge boulders. Where else did we think they came from?
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, this whole wide area, guys. I mean, literally everything you see right now was covered in the landslide. All of it. Don't worry, stick around to the end. We're gonna explain everything the woman told to us that we talked to. You need to hear all of this. This was some crazy stuff she said about this landslide.
Slow a little down is what you said. I'ma get it all up in my head. White t-shirt, blue jeans. I can never get enough of you. Bright sneakers on, getting ready for a flashback. Time keeps moving on, looking at you feeling like I could never.
So the lady we talked to told us that yes, this lake was in fact formed during the landslide. So this landslide wiped out a barangay, killed so many people, but formed this beautiful lake all at the same time. It's really crazy that something like that can actually change the geography like this and create an entire new lake.
Like I could never get enough of you. And I could never get enough of you. I could never get enough of you. And I could never get enough of you.
So the lady we talked to said that this used to be a rice field. This all was just a rice field. And that there totally are like workers from the rice field and things like that who died in the landslide and are probably what, at the bottom of the lake? Yeah, and you can see like random boulders out in the lake. You can tell that the landslide was definitely here. So what we're learning by talking to people around here is that yeah, this was a rice field, and the reason it formed into a lake is because in rice fields they make them to where water will come in naturally anyway. And after the landslide, you know, there wasn't the rice field here anymore, so the water just built up. And eventually when it got high, it overflowed and became the river that we were walking up earlier. So that river, as well as this lake, were not here before the landslide, which is really crazy to me. Okay, before we leave for good, I did want to tell you what else the lady was telling us that we talked to. She was telling us that her and her husband, who was there, he was on the phone while we were talking to her, but they're both from Guinsaugon, happened to be in town in St. Bernard when the landslide happened. They also had a 15-year-old kid at the time who was still back home in the barangay when the landslide happened. And he said, he lived, believe it or not, he said that he heard an explosion and then looks out the house and sees the roofs of his neighbors like falling down into mud, and just went out, ran as quick as he could, and climbed up a coconut tree. Obviously didn't stay in the coconut tree because the coconut tree is gonna get knocked down as well. Said he felt a huge wind and got knocked out of the coconut tree and then was washed down with the mud and the landslide and somehow survived it, which is insane. So another thing that she was saying is that the lay minister's wife there was warning them 3 days before the landslide, saying that she knew a tragedy was gonna happen there in 3 days, and everyone just treated her as if she'd gone crazy. Like, no one believed her, obviously. And then 3 days later, the landslide happened, which is also pretty insane. I mean, the more you unravel around this landslide, the more you talk to the people around here, the crazier it kind of gets. I mean, I don't know. This is one of the craziest things that I think we've ever seen, that I've ever seen personally, not just in the Philippines, but in general. I mean, to be somewhere like this, that's pretty much everything that she told us. I mean, it's just really crazy. And I really think that if you're in Leyte, this is a must visit place. This isn't a tourist destination, and I don't want to treat it like that. There's no entrance fees here or anything like that. It's not that. It really is, like, in a way, like I was saying earlier, like a graveyard and a site where something very tragic happened, and out of it came immense beauty in this lake. I mean, I don't even think the video can show how beautiful it is with the sun rays coming over the mountain. My camera's honestly not good enough to catch all this. It's just something you need to come here and see for yourself, that such crazy beauty can be created from such a horrible tragedy. And also, if you come here, talk to the locals, get the story. You'll probably end up talking to different people than who we talk to and hear their side of the story. I think a lot of the people around here are either from neighboring barangays or were from the barangay that was covered and just weren't
It was
at
just
home.
very lucky for us to find a person who actually lived.
Two
in that-
people.
Yeah, two people actually lived in that barangay.
Sorry for the overly harsh lighting, it's all we have right now. Today was definitely one of the most unique days I've ever had in my life, probably.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it as well?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is really something that you should see. You should come and see this landslide for yourself, see the area. It's really eye-opening and really beautiful in a actually beautiful way, but also in a morbid kind of way. It's very different than most other things that people come to the Philippines to do. We've been posting every day at 4 for our premieres, and we're thinking about pushing it back to 7 Philippines time, because that would make it much easier for us. 4 is actually really hard because 4 we're still out traveling typically.
Yeah.
So we're having to like cut our day short to try to get back and see the premiere, and it's actually making things really difficult. So let us know what you think in the comments. Is it okay if we push it to 7? We don't want to like mess with your guys' schedules too much. I know you're used to our posting time, but just let us know.
Yeah, and of course, don't forget to share this video. So please, please, guys, help us grow this channel.
Please share it. Please share it
Yes,
everywhere you know.
That's the only way we can continue doing this. Exploring the unexplored areas of Leyte and everywhere else in the Philippines. We can do this together. So please.
Okay, guys. We will see you tomorrow. Keep wondering.
Bye.